And we are recording. Welcome everyone to tonight's Toast VPE educational session. And for this support session, we're covering the topic of the Toastmasters Educational Awards. So everything you want to know about educational awards. And you might have seen this, but not really understood it. After some Toastmasters names on the agendas or in some communication from headquarters, you might see a comma plus some letters and the numbers even. So those are actually educational awards, and I'm going to be talking about all of them tonight. So we're going to cover what educational awards are, how you can earn them. We're going to be talking about how you submit them, and we're also going to talk about the Distinguished Club Program, which is really, I believe that 3Ps play a critical part in that program. And as most of you attending tonight are VPEs, it's really important that you understand that program and know how you are involved so that you can support your club in achieving distinguished status. All right, let's proceed now with the educational awards. So first of all, what are the awards in the Pathways program? Because as you know, right now we have Pathways and we have the traditional educational program. So there's two of them. For those who join your club after the 5th of December 2017, they're all in Pathways. But anyone who was a member before December 5th, 2017, they can do both. They can go Pathways, they can go education, traditional education, or they can do both. So each of those programs have different awards, and they're not compatible. They're not equivalent to each other. They completely change the awards when they change the educational program. So that's something to keep in mind. Whatever education awards that a member has in the traditional programs, they will not translate into Pathways. And when the traditional program is retired in June 30, 2020, the old awards will go away. They'll essentially, you can no longer achieve the old awards. It's only the Pathways awards. Okay, is that clear? Just want to make that clear. So the old awards are going to go away in about a year and a half's time. So let's talk about the Pathway Awards. And in Pathways, they actually simplified everything. They kind of simplified because you get an award upon the level completion. So as you know, in Pathways, you have the 10 paths. And each path, there are 5 levels. And when you finish a level, you get an award. It's that simple. So DL1 stands for Dynamic Leadership, level 1. And DL2 means Dynamic Leadership, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So that's what the acronym means, Dynamic Leadership. EC is Effective Coaching. So EC 1, 2, 3, 4, levels 1, 2, 3, 4, respectively. And you can infer for the other 8 paths the acronym. So this is IP, Innovative Planning, LD, Leadership Development, MS, Motivational Strategies, PI, Persuasive Influence, PM, Presentation Masteries, and so forth. That's what the acronyms mean. And here's another interesting caveat with the new system. If you're in level 1, DL1, and then you finish level 2, the DL1 automatically becomes DL2, which makes sense. That's logical. But if you are on 2 paths, let's say you just happen to be someone who's doing both dynamic leadership and effective coaching at the same time. And for example, I finished level 1 of dynamic leadership. So my level is DL1. And then what if, instead of proceeding with level 2 in dynamic leadership, I decide I want to finish level 1 of effective coaching. And I do. What happens there is that in my record, even though I've accomplished DL1, when it comes to displaying my award, when Toastmaster displays my award at the end of my name, instead of saying DL1, it will say EC1. It always, the system of Toastmaster always displays the latest Pathways award that you've achieved. Does that make sense? Okay, so as an example, for example, if I'm in dynamic leadership and I go all the way, finish level 3, so I'm DL3, and I stop there, you know, for the moment, and I decide I want to start a new path called motivational strategies, and I finish level 1. So in the system, my name will be displayed as Ray Laxon, MS1. Not DL3, it's MS1, only because I finished that most recently. It doesn't mean that my DL3, the progress I made in dynamic leadership is wiped out and not recognized. No, it doesn't mean that at all. It's there, but just for display purposes, the system will always display the last award that you've achieved. Okay, does that make sense? Cool. So it's just a display thing. If your members are questioning what happened, did I lose my level 3 and this other path because I just started by level 1 in this path, tell them no, it's recognized. It's just for display purposes. Okay. So that's an award for each level in each path in Pathways. You also have an award when you finish the entire path. Notice I mentioned a while ago that there are 5 levels, and up to here, there's no DL5. And that's because once you finish the 5th level of any path, you are given the designation of proficient. So here, if I finish the dynamic leadership path, my award is dynamic leadership proficient. If I finish effective coaching, my level is effective coaching proficient. And I also get a certificate. By the way, in Pathways, the nice part is that for every level completion that you achieve, you also get a certificate. So you get a certificate of level 1 completion in dynamic leadership, a level 2 completion in dynamic leadership, and so forth. So you get recognized in a very tangible way in Pathways after every level. And each level is just 3 talks, 3 projects. So it's very fast. It's very easy to get recognized more often in Pathways. I think that's one of the major changes that they've done in the program to keep people on it. If you have effective recognition, then that drives people to go forward and continue. So you'll have a certificate, and the only difference when you complete the path is that it says your certificate of proficiency. And I think this is also a good thing, especially for those of your members who are using Toastmasters as a means of personal development, of professional development. You can go back to your organization, especially if they're subsidizing in any way your Toastmaster club fees. You can go back and show them this certificate and say, after 1 year in Toastmasters, I have achieved proficiency in dynamic leadership. And that means something to them. So they'll think, okay, you have leadership. Or if it's effective coaching, you have proficiency in effective coaching, then that means something to people outside of Toastmasters. Because now they see you as someone who has coaching skills, that you can actually coach someone. So I think that's one of the great things about the new awards in Pathways. Any questions so far? All good? Just feel free to chime in. I can see the chat box in front of me. So now we're going to go to the traditional program. Because even though this is going away, you still have to deal with this for now until 2020. The traditional awards, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a little more, I should say, a little more complex compared to the Pathways. So in the traditional one, we have 2 tracks. We have a communications track and we have a leadership track. And as a member in Toastmasters, you can go either communications only or leadership only, or you can do both. And most people, most of the really hardcore Toastmasters, they actually do both. Ava has a question. When you complete a pathway and, for example, become DLP, proficient in dynamic leadership, yes, and start a new pathway with the completed letters also disappear and only the latest pathways show. Good question. So I finished my one path and now I'm starting a new one. So will my proficiency level disappear? I'm not too sure because I've never completed it myself and I've never seen anyone else in the district as well do so. So it's going to be an interesting to see if that is also the case. My suspicion is that it is. If I finish dynamic leadership proficient and then I start effective coaching, then in the system it will show EC1 instead of dynamic leadership proficient. That's what I think, based on what's been told to me of how it currently works. So in a way that I can understand if some people might feel that's a bit of a turnoff because they've worked so hard to achieve that proficiency. And believe me, it is a big thing. I've seen some of the level 5 projects and they are quite demanding. It's not just a simple give a speech. It will take months to finish even one project, for example. So I can appreciate some people might be taken aback by that. But again, assure them that it is just display purposes in the system, in the Toastmasters system. I mean, on the club level, you can choose to continue to recognize that this member is proficient in dynamic leadership. And I actually would encourage that. When you make your agendas and then you put the names of your members and then you can put the educational awards after that, I think you should just put the highest level, so that it shows, it's a way of honoring them and it's a way also of edifying them in front of the other members. So all the members who are starting, when they see an EC4 there or proficiency in dynamic leadership, then they know that, oh, this is a Toastmaster who's been here for a while, who's quite experienced, and therefore someone I could learn from. So I would suggest that on the club level, as the VPE, you know how far they've gone, you know the highest level your members have gone. So recognize that and keep that in your agendas. But it's just that when they log into the Toastmaster International system, unfortunately, it really just shows the latest award. So it's not a nice thing, but it's just display purposes. I agree. It will be a long chain of letters. And I think that's why they decided that way, that it's only the latest letters that will show. Because otherwise, if all people go after all 10 paths, then you have a really long chain and it just becomes unwieldy. So that's why I think they decided just, the latest ones only. So going back to the traditional awards. So we have, these are the awards, the CC, which stands for Confident Communicator, ACB, Advanced Communicator Bronze, Advanced Communication Silver, and Advanced Communication Gold. For leadership, this is Competent Leader, Advanced Leadership Bronze, and Advanced Leadership Silver. Now, unlike pathways, in the traditional programs, you can actually have both. So in my case, for example, I'm actually on ACB, Advanced Communicator Bronze, and Advanced Leadership Bronze. So in my club agendas, it's my name, Ray Laxon, comma, ACB, comma, ALB. So it's just 2. So it's still okay. So I think that's why it's all right in the old system. In pathways, yeah, it's unwieldy. That's why they changed the rules. But in the traditional, you can have both the communication and the leadership award next to your name. Obviously, as you go up the rank, then the higher rank replaces the lower rank. So once I'm ACB, I'm no longer CC, I'm ACB. And once I go silver, I'm an ACS. I want to show you a little graphic here, which will help you visualize it even more, the relationships. So you have a new member that came in prior to December 5, 2017. And they can choose to go only competent, the speaking track or the leadership track or both. And these are the awards. CC, ACB, ACS, and ACG. So that's the relationships in the paths in the traditional program. Now, this is where it gets a little more complex, because in terms of the pathways, it's very simple. You just complete 3 projects per level, and then you get the next award. So that's simple. But in the traditional program, to get a CC award, the competent communicator, you need to finish 10 speeches from a manual called the Competent Communicator Manual. So it's 10 speeches. Rather than 3 in pathways, it's 10 speeches in the traditional. And I think that's, again, another deciding factor why they changed the educational program and the awards, because people weren't finishing their competent communicator manuals. These are 10 basic speeches, kinds of speeches to make you an effective communicator, a competent.
These are her suitcase, but she said
and people weren't finishing it. I think the statistic around the world, worldwide, was around 8%. So if you think about it, 8% completion rate is quite poor. If we're going to have a prestigious educational program and only 8% finish the basic, then that doesn't bode well for the program itself, and that's why they changed it. So now you can just do 3, and you get an award, you proceed. So going back here, to do an ACB, you have to have the CC award plus 10 more speeches from an advanced manuals. So there's around 15 advanced manuals. Each manual had 5 speeches. So effectively, you just complete 2 advanced manuals, and you get the Advanced Communication Bronze Award. For silver, you have to have the Bronze Award plus do 10 speeches again. So a further 10 from different set of manuals. It's not the same manuals you did for your bronze. It has to be 2 new manuals. Remember, you have 15.
Tapioca and nuts.
And then finally, you have to give 2 educational speeches.
It's not salty at all.
From the Better Speaker or Better Successful series manuals. So there's a set of educational manuals given by Toastmasters, which is separate from the advanced manuals. And then you have to choose 2 projects to give there. And finally, with gold, you have to be silver, obviously. And then another 10 speeches. Again, from 2 different manuals. So now you'll be doing 6 manuals, advanced manuals, if you want to go for gold. Plus, this one is a leadership, a program from the Success Leadership, Success Communication, or Youth Leadership Program. The only difference with this one, really, it's more of a workshop. It's not just a speech, but this one is actually a workshop. So some of the workshops are like 3 hours long, and you had to basically conduct all the speeches for that. So it's quite intensive and demanding, but it's gold. That's the highest speaking award. So that's why that's an additional requirement. And of course, and here's the last one. Said you have to be a coach to a new member, help them with their first 3 speeches. So that is the gold award for the communications track. For the leadership track, competent leader, they have another manual, which is called the Competent Leader Manual. And inside, there's basically various projects. I won't go into that in depth right now, but if you have the manual, you can just see it. It's essentially performing specific roles in the club, like being a timer, to develop time management skills, to learn how to be an effective evaluator. You have to be a speech evaluator. You have to be a general evaluator. So essentially, it's taking up various club roles in an agenda, and also perhaps being a contest chair or chairing some program in the club. So it's all these specific activities which will help develop leadership skills. And as you do them, they're ticked off in this manual. And once you ticked off all the projects, then you get a seal award, competent leader. Leadership bronze, this looks quite intimidating with a number of things, but it's essentially just be a club officer. So the next level for you is to be an officer in your club for 6 months. And then as an officer, you'll be attending club officer training. And then you'll also be doing a club success plan. And this one's an educational, similar to Advanced Communication Silver. You'll be giving two educational speeches from the Leadership Excellence or Successful Club series. So that's it. It sounds like a lot, but it's really one of the easiest awards to get, to be honest, because you just have to be a club officer and perform your role. When you're doing your role as a club officer competently, and to the minimum standards, you'll get this. You'll definitely get all these ticks there already. One thing of interest here is that to get the leadership bronze, you must have both the Competent Leader Award and the Competent Communicator Award as well. So those are the two requirements. Finally, we have Leadership Silver, and this is quite intense, even though there's only three requirements. So you have to be bronze, obviously, to get silver. And these are the three requirements. They're quite heavy. You have to be a district officer. And a district officer is someone beyond the club level. So the next level above the club officer would be an area director. And an area director is essentially someone who's responsible for more than one club. Typically, in an area, you can have 4 to 5 clubs, and you're basically in contact with all of those clubs and ensuring that those clubs are meeting their goals, that they're growing in numbers and not shrinking, and that the members in those clubs are actually doing their speeches and achieving awards. So it's a higher level of leadership and responsibility. So that's why that's the requirement of the district officer. And there's more beyond that. Beyond the area, it's a division, and then beyond that, it's the actual leadership group of the district itself. So it's a big responsibility. That's why it's in the silver level. This one is also quite demanding. It's the High Performance Leadership Program. It's essentially a very good program that will help develop your own leadership skills. And it requires a lot of time and effort, and there's actually a whole manual. I actually have it over here. So this is the High Performance Leadership Program, and it's quite a long manual here. So there's a lot of stuff in here. There's 5 phases in the program, and you go through 5 phases, all those 5 phases, and then you do the requirements of each, and then you have a guidance committee that advises you. So it's really quite demanding and quite what's the word I'm looking for? It essentially it's so detailed, and it helps you really. It's meticulous. That's the word I'm looking for. Meticulous in helping develop your leadership skills. Highly recommended. I hope I'm not putting you off or anyone off by saying it's demanding, but really when it comes to developing and growing as a leader to the highest level, then you certainly need that challenge, I would say. That kind of a challenging program to help you really get to that next level. Finally, down here, you're serving as a club sponsor. It means that you're creating a new Toastmaster club in Western Australia. A club mentor is someone who is helping a new club, a new chartered club, or a club coach is someone who's helping a struggling club. So if you have to be one of those 3. So these are the 3 requirements to become Advanced Leadership Silver. Okay. That's quite a mouthful. Don't worry if it's like too much information. There's a lot of documentation on this, and you can always refer to it. But I just wanted to give you an overview of how these awards are earned. And there's always resources in the internet and also in the district, which I'm happy to give to you so that you can have something and refer to it in the future if someone asks you, how do I get those awards? Whoops, the Distinguished Toastmaster. So what is this? The Distinguished Toastmaster, or DTM as it's called, is the highest individual award that can ever be given to a Toastmaster in the world. And it's worldwide recognized. So if you have DTM, the letters DTM after your name in the organization, you're up there. You're really up there, and people will respect you. People in Toastmasters all over the world, they have high respect for you because it is really, really tough to get that level. We do have a lot of distinguished Toastmasters here in the district, but to get to that level, it is quite demanding. I'll show you how. Let me explain how to get there. In the traditional award, let me start with this because I've gone through quite a lengthy discussion of how you get all these awards from up to gold and up to leadership silver. So distinguished Toastmasters is simply if you are advanced communicator gold and you're advanced leadership silver, then automatically you are a distinguished Toastmaster. So that's it. That's simple. As long as you get to the gold level into the communications track and you get the silver level in the leadership track, you are automatically a distinguished Toastmaster. So let's just let that sink in. I've already gone through lengthy discussion explaining how to get here. So you can tell already that to be a distinguished Toastmaster, it is quite it's quite demanding. You need to put a lot into the Toastmaster experience, and that's why it is distinguished. It's that high a level. In pathways, the requirements are different, slightly. Okay, and this is the chart here. But let me just, if it's not very clear here in the graphic, let me just spell it out here. It's in pathways. You just finish 2 paths. Any 2 paths, doesn't matter, just finish 2 paths. Then you must be a club officer for 1 year. And that's not such a big thing really, because in Western Australia, most of the clubs, the term for officers, club officers, is 1 year. So you just be an officer for 1 term, and that's another tick for the Distinguished Toastmaster in the Pathways program. You must be a district officer. So there's no getting around that. All distinguished Toastmasters have been district officers. So that just shows you the caliber really of these leaders. They have served at that high level for at least a year. You must also be a club mentor or a club coach. So you must either strengthen a new club, be a mentor, and help out new members in Toastmasters, like a new club, a brand new club, or be a club coach. So if there's a club in the district that is struggling with membership, you have to coach them and get them to distinguished level to pass. Okay? So again, it takes a lot of leadership and influence that you will learn on the job as you coach these clubs, these struggling clubs, to become stable. And then another requirement, you must do the Speechcraft program or the youth leadership program, or you be a club sponsor. A club sponsor again means that you're forming a brand new, Toastmaster club. And finally, the DTM project. So this is it's like a high performance leadership project, but they've changed it slightly for the Pathways program. It's just now known as the DTM project. And we don't know what it looks like because no one's ever reached that level yet. We can only surmise that based on the requirements in the traditional program, the high performance leadership, it's going to be something like that. There's probably going to be some manual or something like this lengthy and with different phases, and most likely with a guidance committee, again, who will be helping you as you progress in that project. So it is really quite in-depth and quite lengthy as well. So that's the requirement for the Distinguished Toastmaster in the Pathways program. Any questions so far? All good? So I hope that after explaining how to get the awards, that you now have a newfound respect for some of the members in your club who actually have achieved them. They work very hard. It's really no joke for some of them that they've worked it. And there's some members who have even achieved distinguished Toastmaster more than once. It's like in the traditional program, they got the award once, and then they started again from scratch. They like went through the Competent Communicator Manual, went through ACB, bronze, silver, and gold, and then they've gone through the Competent Leadership Manual, and then Leadership Bronze and Leadership Silver. And they've done it again, twice, at least 2 times. So double DTM. And you can just imagine the kind of work and the kind of commitment that goes into it, into just getting those awards. So I hope, yeah, for some, you can ask some of your DTMs, the more senior members in your club, if they are DTMs, how many times they've done it. And if they've done it more than once, then that's respect to them. It's no joke really to get that level. Any difference between a club mentor and a club coach? Yes, Dennis. The mentor is if you are a club mentor, if the club you are mentoring is a brand new club, like it's newly chartered. For example, I was appointed as a club mentor to Toast West. Toast West is a new club in Central Division. It's it's basically the Westpac corporate club, and they just chartered this year only. So they're a brand new club. All the members there are brand new to Toastmasters. All the officers are brand new to Toastmasters. They don't know how things are done. And so they need a mentor, an experienced Toastmaster who knows how things are done. They need one to go in there and tell them how to do things. How do you conduct the meetings? How do you take care and manage your club so that it can stand on its own? That's what the mentor does. And a club coach is a coach for a struggling club. So it's a club that's already established, but it has gone through a dip in membership, and it's just it's not growing. It's almost in a way sort of dying. Maybe that's too strong a word, dying, but they have poor membership, and the people are demoralized because let's face it, if you're in a club where you only see 6 to 7 people every time, it's quite disheartening. And you can imagine the people there are really wondering whether they should even continue with the meetings. And so that's why the district appoints a coach to come in. A coach is typically someone who's outside of the club. He goes in with a different, fresh perspective, and he's fired up and ready to basically get that club up on its feet again, to help them rise up and increase membership, and to get the current members going in their speeches so that the club can be healthy again. So that's what the club coach does. That's the difference between the two. All right, I hope that was clear. I think, Dennis, are you still here? All right, fantastic. I wasn't sure if you're still on the line, Dennis. Okay, wonderful. All right. So now we go to the next part of the presentation. So I've shown you what the awards are and how to achieve them. Let's go now to submitting it. So this is the part where you as a VP are involved, because your members will be achieving the awards in both the Pathways and Traditional Educational Program, and it's up to you to submit them to Toastmasters International so that they are formally recognized and given that recognition, that award in their official record with Toastmasters International. So at this point, I'm going to stop the presentation and go to an actual demonstration. So I'm on the Toastmasters International website, and I'm going to log in. Okay. So let's do the pathways first. And I'm going to go to Basecamp. When it comes to pathways, there's an extra step that is lacking in the traditional program, only because it's now based on your level completion. So I'm going to log in. And open my path, presentation mastery. Okay, let's take this as an example. When you finish a level, what happens is that they'll be going through each project, right? Maybe I should start with level 3. So I'm in level 3. I'm going to be launching this and then completing my project. So I have 3 projects to complete for level 3. Once I've done all 3 projects, the button here is going to appear. There's going to be a button here that's going to say level completion, submit level completion. Okay, that is, I've already done that for levels 1 and 2, obviously. And so what happens is that it's going to say launch. And then when I click on that, what's going to happen is that it's going to kind of ask me, like, these are the instructions, what you need to do. I literally just have to say, to click the button, like, once again. So, like when you have a new project, you have to click on activate and then launch. So it's the same way with this. That's the way the system works, unfortunately. So even when it's level completion, you have to click on the activate button and then click on the launch button. When that happens, it will now, the status of this level completion over here, you see it's completed. But when I'm just about to do it, it's going to say pending approval. Okay, so in the pending approval status, as a member, that's it. That's all I have to do. I just literally have to click on submit, and then I just wait. What happens next is that you the VPs, and the base camp and the presidents and the secretaries, all 3 of you are called base camp managers. You'll get a notification from the system that says, let's say, for example, Ray Laxon has requested a level 1 completion for presentation mastery. So the system will actually send you an email with that subject line, level completion request. When you see that, that is a prompt for you as the VPE to go in as the Basecamp manager. In the Basecamp manager, you'll then go to pending requests. And then here, you are going to see the level completion request of your member. So right now it's blank because there's no one in Aspire, my home club. There's no one there who has requested a level completion request. But if there's someone in your club who has, you are going to see a record here. Okay, there's going to be Ray Laxon requested by the name. So let's say if it's me, Ray Laxon, and then the training would be Presentation Mastery Level 1. And then the date I submitted it. And then here under options, there'll be a tick mark and then X mark. So obviously approve or disapprove. And it's your responsibility as the Vice President of Education to verify if this member actually did the projects. Because I don't know if it's been told to you before, but there's actually a way to kind of cheat the system. Because Basecamp, the software, it doesn't know when you've given the speeches. It has no idea if you've done the icebreaker or the evaluation feedback. People think that if I upload the evaluation sheet, that's how the system knows. No, that's not how it knows. The system doesn't care about any evaluation forms you upload into the system. It doesn't. What it does care about is the pre and post assessment in each project. Are you all familiar with that? The pre and post assessment, yeah? So if you go through each project and then you complete the pre and post assessment, that's it. That's enough for the system to say, okay, you've done it. So now I'll mark it as complete and you can proceed. So there's might be some people who will just do that. They'll just go through the projects and then complete the self-assessment without actually delivering the speech in your club. And I've actually seen it happen. I've seen it happen with some members. And it's not because they were trying to cheat it. Like, it's most of the time they just didn't understand, they misunderstood the requirements, and they thought, oh, I've done it, so I just complete the assessment and move on. So it's your job as the Basecamp manager to ensure that they really have done the projects. And how do you do that? The best way could be you can ask for the evaluation forms. So as typical in our meetings, when you do a speech, you get evaluated. So if they can send you a scanned copy of the evaluation forms for each project, then that's proof that they've done it. Another way is if you have the agenda. As the VP, you have the past agendas. If you see that, oh, Ray has done icebreaker on this date, and then he's done evaluation feedback on this date, and presentation and research on this date, then that's enough. You know, I did it. I was scheduled in the agenda to do it, and you were there. You saw me do it. You know, you might not remember what I said, but you just remember that I did it. And that's enough. You can then approve my request. Okay? But the key thing is that you have to ensure the integrity of the process, ensure that they have actually done it before you approve it. Okay? And if they haven't, like they let's say in this particular case, this guy, he misunderstood the project, he actually didn't deliver all the requirements, you can just disapprove it. You can click on the X button here, and then that will go back to the Toastmaster, and then you can also explain why you disapproved it and have a chat with them, and then they just complete the requirements. That's all they have to do, and then resubmit their level request. And at that point, you can then approve it. Eva says, a recent completion notification, one of the members landed in my junk folder. That's true. It may pay to be checking this folder frequently. So it's unfortunate that could happen. Unfortunately, it's because spam really is a problem nowadays because it's so easy to send emails. And so if you're using a Google account or a Yahoo account, a Hotmail, the servers could be quite strict. I would suggest that you add a specific email to your address book, and that will prevent your system from putting it to junk. So I can't remember the email off the top of my head, but it's, I'll send it to you. I'll email it to all of you guys. But essentially, it's something at Basecamp. I think it's Basecamp at Toastmasters.org, something like that. I'll confirm it. But essentially, if you add that to your address book, then it won't put emails from that. It won't put it in the junk mail or the spam mail. Okay. So I'll look for that email address for you. Might have a chance to show it before the end of tonight. Okay. So assuming that you've approved it, what's the next step that you have to do? The next step is to go to Club Central. So to go to Club Central, we're back here in the Toastmasters website. You go to Leadership Central. You have to be logged in order to access Leadership Central. So just make sure you're logged in. Go to Leadership Central here and then go to Club Central. And then here you can choose which club you want to do business for. And then here, go to Educational Awards. This is the place where you go to file both the traditional and Pathways Educational Awards. Okay, so let's choose a member. Let's say Ian Hart, for example. And by the way, you're as VPs, this is your primary responsibility, but you are not allowed to submit your own awards. So if you as a VP have achieved level 1 completion, for example, you need to ask your president to submit it on your behalf. So the rule and the culture in Toastmasters is that you never approve your own request. So if you finish a level 1 in Pathways, it's the president or the secretary who must approve it in Basecamp, and it's the president or the secretary who submits it in Club Central. That's only if it's for you, for the VPE. In all other cases, then you can submit on behalf of the Toastmaster. So in this case, I'm doing Ian Hart's, for example, and then I'm selecting the educational program. And here you can see all the awards from both the traditional and the Pathways awards. You notice that it's already automatically linked to the system, so it knows that Ian is on the Implement Innovative Planning path, and that he's at level 2. So therefore, that's the only thing that shows up. Okay, so I can say level 2 completion, for example, and then review award, and then that's just to like put a review screen, and then submit will be a confirmation. So obviously, I'm not going to submit that because he hasn't done it, but that's literally all you have to do. It's that simple. Just select the member, select the award, and then submit. That easy in Pathways. In the traditional program, this is where there's a little more work to it. For example, in the Competent Communicator Manual, if I choose that, and then, oh, this one, look at this. This is interesting. Our records show that Ian Hart has received the following awards in the past 12 months. If this is a duplicate application, please cancel and select another award. So it's a little check and balance just to make sure that we're not submitting the same award in the same, in case it's already been submitted before. But just for testing purposes, I'm going to continue. And this is where the work comes in. Now we're going to have to actually put in the speech title for each of his 10 projects and the date that Ian did it. So normally what they would do is they would email you a scanned copy of the manual where they actually filled out the title and the dates. And then you basically just have to copy that and fill up this online form accordingly. That's all you have to do. And sometimes they want the letter recognition as well to be sent to their employees. So you just click yes if they want. And then you put the name and then the address accordingly. So all of this is in the form, the manual form that they will fill up and scan to you. So you don't worry about it if you don't know. And you can always just ask them if there's anything missing in the application. And then after you fill up all the details, you just click on the review award submission, and then that's it. It will then go to the review screen, and then you submit, so then it will go to the submission. All the traditional awards have equivalent forms to fill up. Well, this is probably one of the biggest ones, like 10 projects. Advanced Communicator Bronze, let's look at this. Well, this one again, remember I told you a while ago, 10 projects from the advanced manuals. So again, you have to put in the titles and then the dates when they completed those projects. For silver, advanced communication bronze. Okay, so this is a little validation here. It's saying that this person is not qualified for silver because he hasn't even reached bronze. So it's good that the system actually validates what you can and cannot put. You just can't put anything in here. Similarly, in leadership, look at this. So when's the last time that they completed each of these projects? You have to put the dates, which is again in the application form. So in summary, you will be given all this information. If you're not given that, then you obviously cannot file it, and then you just simply go back to the member and say, hey, I need to fill up this information. Can you tell me what date this is? And they should fill it up for you. They should provide that information so that you can submit the award. Okay, so it's a little more involved on your part for the traditional, for pathways, it's really no-brainer. Just choose that, click the button, then you're done. Any questions with the submission of the awards? All good? Oh, good. Fantastic. Thank you for that. It's really important. This is one of your key functions as a VP. You have to submit your awards. This is really, really important because if you're not submitting awards, then as far as the organization is concerned, that your members are not completing, they're not doing their speeches. And if they're not doing their speeches and advancing, then we can't recognize them. And it gives the impression that the club is not really functioning. It's not fulfilling its mission and its responsibilities to its members. And this kind of statistic is visible on the district level. So the district director, everyone there in the leadership team, they actually can see the statistics of your club. I'll show you that in a little bit, but they can actually see it and they're tracking it because it's part of their key performance indicators. They look at the awards, and if you're not doing these submissions awards, then it's not reflected on the metrics of the system. Okay, so I can't stress enough how important this little action is. Okay, going back now to member recognition. So this is the next part. After you submit, this is really all about just giving back to your members, really recognizing the hard work that they put in. In Pathways, I already mentioned that you can print out the certificate. So if someone finishes a level 1, print out the certificate, and then during your next club meeting, have even just a couple of minutes in the agenda to actually present the member with that certificate. And that little gesture actually does mean a lot. It means a lot to the member receiving it, and it means a lot to the members watching, because they're thinking, wow, if this person can get recognized, I can be recognized when it's my turn. And that encourages them to continue giving their speeches and working towards getting that level. So it's really important that you recognize them. You can print the certificate in Pathways. In the traditional program, what happens is that Toastmasters International will mail a physical certificate to the member. So you'll just have to coordinate with that member, say when that member receives that certificate from Toastmasters International, to bring it to the next meeting so that you can formally present it to the Toastmaster. And again, it's to recognize them for their hard work in achieving it, and also for the rest of the club to see that, wow, people here who achieve awards get recognized. There's really, it really does a lot to change the atmosphere of a club. So I would really highly recommend that you do that. Make it a practice in your club to do so. Okay, we're going now to the last part of tonight's presentation, which is the Distinguished Club Program. I'm going to show you the dashboard. So this is dashboard.toastmasters.org. This is the diagram that all the leaders of the districts, they look at. And you can see from here, it's worldwide. It's the whole world. You can see all the stats from all Toastmaster clubs around the world. We are in District 17. So that's the first thing you do here, District 17. Write that down, District 17. I'll put that here. That's really key. Otherwise, you might get lost. And these are the KPIs that the district leaders are, they're looking at. They're all in a way, obsessing over them. And then here, you can look for your club. Just look around in your club, and then you can see the stats. So let's just stay up over here. Let's look at Aspire Toastmasters, which is my home club. We'll pick that. Then you just click on the link here. And here you can see how many members are there. 31. You can see here also in summary how many goals have we achieved. And then how many to be distinguished, select distinguished, and precedence distinguished. So the Distinguished Club program is really essentially a program that encourages clubs to achieve certain goals. When you achieve goals, then you get a point. The highest, the perfect score is 10. And if you get just 5 of them, you are given a distinguished award. So it's already a recognition. You've done even just half, you're given a distinguished. If you get 7, you're given a higher level, so it's select distinguished. And if you get 9, you're given the highest level, which is precedence distinguished. We're all encouraged to go for precedence distinguished, and it might be difficult for some, but at the very least, go for distinguished. Try to achieve that. And how do we achieve that? Let's look at that over here. Now there's membership goals, like growing by 4, and we've achieved that. That's why we get 1 point. And this is, again, grow by 4. These are related to training, and these are basic administrative tasks. So we've achieved those 2. That's why we have 2 points. But I want to really focus for tonight on this one here, the big one, which is the educational awards. This is the one that you are primarily responsible for because you know where people are. It's expected that the VPE knows where each member in your club is in terms of their level of achievements. How many more speeches do they need to go before they get their CC award? How many do they need to go before they get their level 1 award? These are questions that you need to know at the top of your, you need to have an Excel spreadsheet, keep a track of that. I don't know, for those of you who attended my session 2 weeks ago, in my own tracking sheet, I actually put there the level they are in the competent communicator manual. So I know if they finished 7 speeches or 8 speeches, then I know, okay, this person's close to 10, so I need to schedule them as soon as possible. See, that's the purpose of knowing where your members are, so that you can use your agenda strategically to schedule them for speeches so that they advance, they can get their awards, and your club can get closer to becoming distinguished. That's how you use all these pieces together. You have the agenda, and then you have the tracking sheet, and you have the Distinguished Club Program awards here. That's how they all fit together. While we have the educational program, the traditional one, and the Pathways program running simultaneously, we have 12 ways to earn points for the education. Okay, there are 12 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But there's only 10. I mentioned a while ago, 10 is the perfect number. So in this case, they're giving us 12 ways, but they're only going to get maximum 6. You're only going to get maximum of 6 educational points. And the beauty of this is that it's now a lot easier to actually get 6 because we just choose any 6, accomplish any 6 of 12. Before, when we didn't have pathways, we only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we had to do all of that to get perfect, all 6 educational goals. But with pathways, we now have 12. So it's a lot easier. When the traditional program goes away in 2020, these 6 here will disappear. And so we're going to be left with only these 6 ways to get points in education. They're not hard, really. Like here, if we get 4 members to finish level 1, that's 1 point. And it's not that hard, really. We're talking about 3 speeches for someone, 3 projects for someone to finish level 1. That's not difficult in 1 fiscal year. That's very doable. And then for those who finished level 1, you just need 2. You just need 2 to finish level 2. And that's even easier because level 2 is just 3 projects again. It's not more difficult per se compared to level 1 because it's just still 3 projects. So that's why, and you only need 2. So it's half the challenge. So really, if you do that, then that's another point for you. And if you do it again, so if you imagine, if you have 4 people in your club finishing level 2, that's 1 point here and then another point here. That's so you can see now how easy it is to actually become distinguished. It really is easy. If you grow your club by getting new members and then you're doing all the administrative stuff and you're going to club officer training, You literally just need a couple of educational awards and you're distinguished. And that's how easy it is. That's really how easy it is. This one's the level 3. It's again similar to level 2. Level 4 and level 5 are actually quite difficult. The projects there are quite lengthy, like doing a podcast. You might, or writing a blog. You might have to wait an extended period of time, maybe a month or 2, in order to complete that project, because there's really a time requirement. That's why you just need one person to finish level 4, and you get a point. Same way with level 5. The level 5 projects are quite difficult. They're quite lengthy. Some span for months. And that's why you just need one person to finish level 5, and that's 1 point. It's really that easy. And for those who are still in the educational program, they just have to submit, Advanced Communicator Gold Awards, Competent Communicator Awards, Leadership Awards. And that's how you rack up the points here. Okay, so bookmark this page here. It's dashboards.toastmasters.org. I'll just type it here. And look at District 17. And then there, look for your club. And then you can see the metrics. And again, the basis for this is you submitting the educational awards, just as I showed you a while ago. That's how the points here are put on the board. All right, that is the end of my presentation. I apologize, we went over time a little bit, but I want to just open the floor now for question and answer. Anything at all related to educational awards, or even in previous sessions, if you have a question that you have burning in your mind, now's the time to ask it. I'm here for you. I'm opening the floor for questions. You can type, or you can just unmute your mic and start speaking. Triple Crown Awards still available for Pathways? Yes, they are still available. In fact, it's easier than ever to be a Triple Crown Award. What the Triple Crown, just for all of you who are unfamiliar with that, it's more like a district award. Like, well, Pathways does give them the information, but it's an award given by the district during the district awards night. So essentially, if within one fiscal year you achieve 3 awards, you are given a Triple Crown pin. And it's essentially, again, it's another level of distinction and recognition. And to achieve that, you can basically, in the traditional program, it's essentially someone, for example, submitting a Competent Communicator Award, Competent Leader, and then maybe an Advanced Communicator Bronze, all in one fiscal year. Now, you might think that seems impossible. It's like, that's 20 speeches plus all the projects and Competent Leader. And it's actually not, because here's the thing. You may be able to finish your award, your Competent Communicator Award, for example, in January in the fiscal year of 2017 to 2018, for example. But you can choose to submit that in the fiscal year 2018 to 2019. Okay, so even though you finished it in the prior fiscal year, you can choose to submit it in the next fiscal year, and that counts for that year. So you effectively didn't do any work anymore for that, because you've done it in the previous year. You're just now officially recognizing it for that year. So what some people do is that they finish their manuals in prior years, and it's only now that they're claiming credit for it. So they submit their CC award in 1 year plus another 10 speeches, which is doable. 10 speeches in 1 year is doable. And then that's when they submit maybe another Competent Leadership Manual. So that's how they're able to get at least three in 1 year. Some people, they're just crazy. They do like 9 in 1 year, which is mind-boggling to me. Like, how can you do 9 awards in 1 year? But it's been done. I mean, I've seen it in district awards now. Some people, they have 9, 10, 13 in 1 year. It's like, it's mind-boggling what they do. Like, don't they have a life? But anyway, that's just how it can be done. Okay, so don't think that you're starting from scratch and then you have to do so much work to get these awards. There's strategy behind them. And as I said, with pathways, it's even easier because a level completion is actually a one award. Can you imagine that? A level completion is award, it's one award. So I could submit my competent communicator award and a competent leader award and then a level 1, and that's a triple crown. And level 1, again, in pathways, it's just three speeches. It's not hard. So you can imagine if you go from level 1, level 2, and level 3 in 1 year, that's triple crown. So it's mind-boggling. It's easy. So triple crown is not really that difficult anymore, really. So go for it. I mean, I expect to see an explosion of triple crowns really in the district, because if it's that easy, yeah, everyone should be triple crown. All right. Okay. No worries, Dennis. Any other questions? I do owe you all the email. So let me just look at that. I can quickly search my level completion requests. Okay. Let me bring it up to you right now so that you can see what it looks like, level completion request. Subject contains level completion request. Okay, here we go. Okay, take note of this. So this is an example of the email that's sent out when someone has requested a level. Well, this one's the approval level. Okay, sorry, that should be. But here's the email that I was telling you about. It's basecamp@toastmasters.org. So let me just copy that address and paste that here. Make sure you put that in your address book on Hotmail or Yahoo or Google, so that they know that this is important. This is not spam, and they won't put it in your junk mail. Okay. I can't seem to find it, unfortunately. This is another one here. This is where actually, as a Toastmaster, I wanted a level 1 completion, and this is the approval I got. So this is what it looks like, again, from Basecamp Manager, and this is where it's saying your level completion is approved. So you can imagine that when you, as a Basecamp Manager, are receiving an email, it will come from Basecamp Manager, and we'll see your level completion request. It wasn't approved, obviously, because it's for approval. And then it's just saying, dear Dennis Chong, Ray Laxon is requesting for a level 1 completion for presentation mastery. And then it's giving instructions to log in as a Basecamp Manager and so forth, and do your approval. So that's what it looks like for level completion. Okay, any more questions? Apologies, we went over time a bit for a few minutes, so I won't keep you long anymore. It's quite a lengthy discussion. So next week, we're going to be not next week, for our next session in 2 weeks' time, we are going to be talking about mentoring. So that's the last subject I have for my VP support session. So I'm going to be inviting some guests over. We're going to be talking about rather, I would say, an undervalued aspect of our role, because as VPs, we're responsible for mentoring, or at least providing a program for mentoring the members in our club, particularly the new ones. And I think not having a good mentoring program is the reason why people leave. So we're going to talk in 2 weeks' time about that. I'm going to be bringing some experienced Toastmasters to really give you some more insights on how to actually develop a good mentoring program that makes people stay. And when people stay, your club will grow and will continue to be a great experience for everyone. So that's happening in 2 weeks' time. For now, thank you all for attending tonight. I really appreciate your time here. And I wish you all the best. Please watch out for the replay. It will be coming in a few days' time. And yes, as always, send me emails if you have any questions. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you again.